What's up YouTube? This is Mox Lotus here, and today I'm going to bring you guys the long overdue Magic Origins episode of First Pick. So, I know I'm a few months late on this, but I thought better late than never, and we've got the pack here with Jace on the front, and he's gone up quite a bit in price, so the dream is to get him, but I'm going to be going into this pack like I normally do, and that's high hopes, low expectations. So we'll see how we go, but the whole point of this series is not just a pack cracking show, it's a sort of draft analysis type thing. So we're going to be going over each card and just talk about which ones are the best in drafting, I guess, and which one out of this pack I would first pick. So this being the last ever core set, it's still a core set, so the cards aren't going to be super advanced, but that's good because it makes the analysis a bit easier. So our first card here is Aven Battle Priest. So this is a 3/3 for 6 flying, and when it enters the battlefield you gain 3 life. I think this card's decent, to be honest. It's got a bit of life gain. The body isn't great in terms of stats, but you know, flies are always good in limited. I'll probably put this, because we usually have the 5 piles, I'll put this in the pretty good pile. Next up we have Night Snare. So sorcery for 4, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You can choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player discards that card. If you don't, then they discard 2 cards. Discarding spells aren't really that good in limited. I mean, you do get to see their hand, but it's really not a big deal. And to be honest, it's a bit overcosted for the effect as well. So yeah, we'll probably put it in the not very good pile, with the middle, I guess, being here. Next up, we have an absolute classic, Demolish. Like, it's not the best card, obviously, and it's not that great in limited either, to be honest. Yeah, like, you don't really care too much about land destruction, and artifacts are kind of, they're not rare, but they're not common, so I think we'll put that here with Night Snare in the relatively bad spot, I guess. Next up we have Auramancer. It's another good reprint. When it enters the battlefield you can return target enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. I think that this card really depends if you have enchantments or not. If you do, then it's pretty good, but in the early game you're not really going to have an enchantment in the graveyard anyway. I think it can be alright in some situations, but I mean, it's good in constructed decks, but not really in limited. So again, hasn't really been the best pack so far. Let's see if the next card can turn it around. So next up we have Bone to Ash, and this card's sort of like Cryptic Command in a way. It's an instant for 4, and it lets you counter target spell and draw a card. This is pretty good because it can counter any spell, and card draw is always nice, so we'll put it with the Aven Battle Priest. Next up we have Yeeva's Force Mage. Say 2/2 for 3, and when it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+2. By turn 3, you'll normally have a creature, and that's a pretty good pump and a decent body for the stats. So we'll put it up here. We haven't really had any middle ground so far. Well, we do now. Our next card is Maritime Guard. The card, it's not a bad card. It's a good blocker, but it's just so mediocre that I think it does go into the middle pile. Next up we have Hitherclaw Recluse. It's a 1/4 reach. Even though flies are pretty good in limited, they're not exactly the most prominent creatures, and I think that it's probably better to play a more threatening 3-drop than this. He does block a fair bit, but normally you'd still want to play the Force Mage. I don't think it's bad, but we'll just put it with the guard, I guess. Whoops. Next up we actually do have an artifact. This is Guardian Automaton. It's a 3/3 for 4, and when it dies you gain 3 life. I think this card's fine, to be honest. I wouldn't really first pick it, but still, it goes in any deck, and so in some decks where life gain isn't as common, can be handy. and well, its stats, they're pretty decent to be honest, so I guess it can go up here. So we haven't had anything terrible or really good yet. Next up we have Fiery Impulse. Instant for 1, deals 2 damage, and it's to only target creature. And it has Spell Mastery, so if there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, it deals 3 damage to that creature instead. I still think that this card is pretty good removal because a lot of the time in limited, creatures aren't super powerful, and this can kill quite a few problematic creatures. So yeah, I definitely think this card, it is pretty good, and if you draw it in the late game, then chances are you will be able to activate its Spell Mastery, so then it just becomes even better. For our first uncommon, we have Totem Guide Heartbeast. This is a 2/5 for 5, and when it enters the battlefield, you can search for an aura, reveal it, and put it into your hand. This sort of works with Auramancer, I guess. You can kind of make like an aura deck, but it's a hard strategy to draft around. The card, to be honest, like the stats aren't really that good for its cost. I'd prefer maybe a 3/4, to be honest. I think would be better. And yeah, like the effect is too reliant on really having auras to be good, so we'll put it here with the Auramancer and the Heartbeast. I guess that if you do have auras in your deck, then it can be decent, but it's definitely not really a first pick card. So next up we have Null Root Trapper, and sorry about the reflection, but it's a 1/1 for 1 black, and you can tap it to pay a life, and you can add 1 green to your mana pool, but you can only spend that mana to cast an elf, or you can tap it and target attacking elf you control gains Death Touch. I think this card's sort of like, the Heartbeast and the Auramancer, in that you really need to be drafting a specific deck for it to work. And this card on its own is really bad, to be honest. Like, yeah, you can't even use its effect on itself. And yeah, 1/1s for 1 are generally pretty weak anyway. And yeah, this one, if you just put it in any random black deck that's not elves, it doesn't do anything. So this card's pretty bad. Its only redeeming quality is that, super, like, I guess, tuned deck, it can be pretty good. And then lastly we have Blessed Spirits. This is a 2/2 for 3, and it has flying, and whenever you cast an enchantment you can put +1/+1 counter on it. I actually think this is a pretty good card, to be honest. It's got decent stats, it's a flyer, and already that's pretty good. And its ability, I mean, you can draft a decent, I guess, aura deck in Origins, but whilst the other 2 cards are sort of more reliant on having auras, this card, like, it's really just the icing on the cake, I guess. So I really like this card. I think we can put it in the very good. So now we're up to the rare, and obviously we're going to be praying for Jace, but unfortunately I can see the card right now and it's not double-sided, but it is a Herald of the Pantheon. So this is a 2/2 for 2, and enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less, and whenever you cast an enchantment you gain 1 life. Unfortunately the card isn't that great. I guess, again, like with a lot of the cards in this pack, you sort of need an enchantment deck to work. I don't think we actually got any enchantments in the pack, so if you are trying to make an enchantment deck, that wouldn't be very helpful. But yeah, the card, again, it's too reliant. So to be honest, I think it honestly goes down here with the Auramancer and all that. And we didn't get a foil or anything, so pretty dodgy pack overall, but I guess in the end it's sort of karma for, because on the other 3 episodes we did have pretty good luck in terms of the packs. I won't spoil what we got, but I think we made our money back on each pack, so I guess karma was bound to come to us eventually. In terms of the top 5 cards in the pack, to be honest, your only contenders are these 5 cards here, and none of them, it's 6 actually. I guess for top 5 you'd probably take out the Yeevis Force Mage, to be honest. So yeah, even these cards, despite being the top 5, are not really that good. So again, it is a dodgy pack, but there's nothing much you can really do about that. If I had to pick one of the cards out of here, I'd probably take the Bone to Ash or the Blessed Spirits, I guess. And yeah, like with Blessed Spirits, I guess it does sort of open you up to the possibility of building an enchantment deck, but still, you know, you do need to make it work. But that's it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And next time we'll be opening up a pack of Battle for Zendikar, so I know that's a bit overdue too, but I'm just getting back into it now, so you guys can expect some more videos in the future. But until then, bye guys.